Everybody, happy Tuesday. Feliz martes, feliz terça-feira. All right, still feel a little bit stung from last Friday. Dealing with some residual fatigue. So it's interesting. Sometimes it's good to do that. Load yourself up a little bit more. Do what you can do without killing yourself in that session, and then kind of see how that fatigue dissipates over the next few days. I was able to do, 5x5 at 185 pounds with the safety bar squats, the 12-inch box. So not too far off of what I normally would have done. And I could have done more, but I was just keeping it light just to help the fatigue dissipate a little bit better. But yeah, good squat day. And that's all I'm going to worry about doing today. I'm tired. Memorial Day is one of those weekends where I just come out more tired than I would have on a 2-day weekend. Because, like I mentioned, I was running around as we're organizing this garage. I cleaned some other stuff up, running a bunch of errands. So not a lot of time to rest, and that's okay. That's kind of why we do this stuff, right? To support the other things in life. Stay active, stay healthy, and get things done. Do want to mention there is a recent article out there by the Barbell Medicine folks. Overall, good crew. I agree with a lot of what they say. They at least bring as much evidence as possible to the table when they do have these discussions. And one of them is kind of the those arbitrary strength metrics that are out there. And I've said this before to other people in other forums, and I might have said it here, but in reality, a lot of that stuff is kind of, it's arbitrary, and arbitrary to the point of almost being useless. Every single one of us has a different genetic measuring stick. We are encoded differently from one another, and that's what makes us cool as humans, right? The uniqueness of each one of us. But that also manifests itself in some people being much stronger than others, some people being much more lean than others. I remember growing up in high school, and there was some guys that were just jacked and shredded from, push-ups and sprints. And this is before PEDs were rampant. It almost, certainly at the high school level, and not even really at the college level yet. So man, genetics is a wild card for sure. But in the end, sure, there's an average, bench press weight for trained males of the ages of blank to blank that weighs a certain age or weight range. Sure, we can come up with statistics for these things, but in the end, they're just that. They're a statistic, and when we look at things like the mean and standard deviation, that just allows us to parameterize where people lie within that lift or within that distribution. And that's useful in describing the population, but that's not useful in describing you or describing me. So the statistics are just that. They're the framework from which you can understand where you are compared to the population. But in reality, the measuring stick that you were given genetically is the only thing that really matters. And what that means in terms of training or nutrition, or any other physical, activity or attribute, is, are you improving? Are you getting stronger? Are your reps getting cleaner? Are you losing weight? Are you losing size but keeping weight? Things that are indicators of what's going on with you physically, as opposed to comparing yourself to, the whole of the population, which may be useful as kind of a point of reference, but in the end, you're just going to have to come to terms with, okay, I'm not as strong, or I'm stronger than the average person. Okay. Other than that, it's just a reference point. I think a lot of people get hung up on those numbers, and they think, oh, I've got to do way better than average. Or they're even worse, like, oh, I want to be better than 1 standard deviation, or 2 standard deviations better than the mean. And some people can certainly do that. They have the genetic gift to do that. Other people don't. And so some of those people, their will is stronger than they are, and sometimes they will grind themselves into the dirt or get injured or things like that, or just get frustrated and stop lifting altogether, doing something that's actually beneficial. So, just the ramble today is, I think that, and I'm pretty sure the article that the barbell medicine guy is saying something similar, is that they exist. These strength standards exist, but they're not particularly useful when it comes to an individual and programming for an individual or gauging the progress of an individual. They're just a statistic for the population. The individual lies somewhere within that population, and that's fine. As long as they're progressing, that's all that really matters. That's how I approach training, and having done that for myself, I like training because my progress is different than other people's progress. And part of my training is just the ability to move things and get into some sort of space and mindset that allows me to, relax and focus on something else. And I'm still progressing in other ways, which is cool. And with that, it was a good squat day. Got my work done, and I'm happy about it. So, happy Tuesday. Feliz martes. Feliz terça-feira. Espero que você tenha ótimo dia. Hope you have a great day. And don't forget, get into those gyms, hit those goals, and get swole. Peace.